Yo, what's crack-a-lacking, everybody? This your boy Ben Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. We are back, baby. This is episode 46 of Basketball Conversations. We are back, man. We are finally back in running here, guys. Took a long hiatus. Had to deal with some, personal stuff going on at home. But trying to get some stuff, going on right now. I will make a couple of things that have been going on outside at home. Um, I'm planning on getting a new apartment for myself, and I'm also making moves to get to graduate school by next fall. So those are the two things I've been planning on right now. Trying to take a little bit some time off just to try to get things cracking lacking here. But today I am back, styling, ready to talk some good old basketball here tonight. Much love to the entire LWC and the entire basketball community. And also, I want to personally say welcome back to Fanat International Boxing Channel, though, too. He also took a long hiatus, too, when he was doing some personal business going on with in his life as well. He's one of my favorite channels, to listen to all the time. So it's good to see him back, too, as well. So, you know what I mean? But I appreciate all the love and support, though, man. As I see the OG Duke in the building. I'm doing pretty well, Duke. Thanks for stopping by. Much love, man. You know what I'm saying? Make sure to smash the like button as you come on in here, guys. You know what I mean? It does help the channel though grow too. And I will try to drop, videos more regularly, as my hectic schedule, starts to loosen down a little bit. So, but with that being said, normally I would have started at 9 p.m. Central Time, but I had to start this off pretty early because I got some things to get off my chest. And I'm just gonna get down to it here, guys. So let's get down to the nit and gritty here. So this week, we actually heard the interview with Mr. James Harden, talking about the whole situation that went down, in Houston, how he forced himself out of Houston, how things went transpired, and also what tripped me out was is that how he talked about how it was different, how the training was to score 40-point games every single night. Now, I had to listen to the interview because I didn't watch it live. I had to listen to the interview, on YouTube, obviously. And what really tripped me out about what James Harden said was that, listen, there were a couple of things um, that really tripped me out. He said, "Do I have a Cash App?" Yeah, I do have a Cash App. Let me post that up real quick. Just hold on 1 second. It's been a while since I've had my Cash App in here. I should have done that before the live stream started. So hold up 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, just hold on 1 second there too. Hey, what's up, LB? How you doing, man? Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. So right here's my Cash App right here. Sorry. Nation 23. There we go. MehariNation 23 is my Cash App avatar at Ash. It's my Cash App right there. You can go ahead and donate if you want to. Do I appreciate it? Now, let me get down to the nitty and gritty here, guys. So when I listened to this interview, um, I was like shaking my head at some of the things that James Harden had to say. Okay, when he talked about how it was draining on him to score those 40-point games every single night that he played. Now, I kind of did get it to a certain extent, but at the same time, I didn't get it. Okay, because it goes back to what Kobe Bryant said, tragically before he died. He talked about how, James Harden's style of play is not going to be conducive to winning a championship, and that he can't play that same style long term because it's going to, it's going to be more draining on him. So let's just put it like this, okay? Nobody asked you to, put up 40-point games every single night. The Rockets did everything they could to surround you with the best talent available for you to try to help you win. Okay, just like what Shaq said on Inside the NBA a few weeks ago, the Rockets helped you get Dwight Howard. All right, you got to a conference final that didn't work out. Okay, they got you Chris Paul, they got you, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon. They surrounded you with shooters. All right, all of them shooters to space the floor for you. All right, to do your thing. All right. You were basically one win away from making it to the Western Conference Finals until Chris Paul pulled this hamstring and was out for the remainder of the series. He had all that help around him. Okay, but he basically wet the bed in Game 7, missing all of them threes. Okay, and then after that, they basically helped you. They basically try to help you by playing more of the same small ball lineup, and more importantly, and this is the most important of all, the biggest thing was is that the Rockets also helped you get, Russell Westbrook to play with you. All right. And unfortunately, that didn't work out either because Russell Westbrook even called you out on your lack of effort and your lack of attention to detail. Okay. And don't forget, they also brought you Carmelo Anthony and they only lasted 10 games. I mean, let's be real here. James Harden had all the chances and all the opportunities to make this work in Houston. Ultimately, it comes down on him and basically a lot of the shot selection that he takes, even though there could be sometimes good ones. All right, I'm saying is that listen, you had all these opportunities to really help your team get over the hump and beat the Golden State Warriors. All right, but it was just absolutely ridiculous how how this was being perceived. It made no sense to me. Oh, look who's here! The lovely Tay Tay Brown. Well. Welcome there, my lady. So you're gonna sit. You're gonna. I'm gonna talk about your New York Knicks later on. If you want to stick around and listen to it, you know what I'm saying. I hope you're doing very well for yourself. Hope you're staying safe out there. So let me get back to my point here. Okay, listen. The way that things went down in Houston, the way that he went at things was very unprofessional on his part. Coming into the season out of shape, causing a ruckus, causing a distraction to the rest of his teammates. All right, you really think that basically you will try to give some credit to basically get himself out of Houston, bro. The way that it went down was very unprofessional on his part. All right. And I'm sure looking back on it, I think he'll even admit to himself that the way that it went down was not the most well thought out idea. But here's the bottom line to this, okay? The Rockets organization did everything they could to help this guy try to get over the hump. He didn't get it done. That's on him. It's not on the Rockets organization. And listen, I I always support players, in terms of, the players versus organization type of situations. But I can't with James Harden in this instance. All right. Especially of all the times that he's basically wet the bed in the postseason. I'm not saying that he's a bad player because he's not. He's a really good basketball player and MVP candidate and one of the best scorers in the NBA. But if you are going to sit here and tell me that you basically scoring 40 points was draining every night, listen, there are so many ways to make the game easier for you. And Kobe Bryant saw that because he basically was doing almost similar to the same kind of things earlier on in his career until he basically started learning all the lessons Michael Jordan taught him and made the game much more easier for him. So at the end of the day, you know, that interview to me was just, was not well. It was not well put. It was not well put out in my view, and I just felt like it basically feed more of the same criticisms that it's been on James Harden over the last couple of years. It's just, it's just absolutely ridiculous, and I just didn't like that. He basically said, LB says he basically had the organization by the jock straps. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I could pretty much agree to that. That was pretty much true. And right now, the way that the Nets have been playing this year, it's not the Nets right now. The way you look at it is right now, they're not playing well together as a team. They don't make any necessary stops. So, with that being said, I wanted to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and what's been going on with them. Okay, so let me put the pictures up. There we go. So right now, as the way his team is going on right now, as they're playing against the Golden State Warriors on ABC right now. Okay, right now they're as I'm watching the scoreboard right now, they're basically up by 13. But if you look at their record right now, they basically lost three. They lost three straight games until they went on and beat the Indiana Indiana Pacers on the road. But the problem I'm seeing with the Brooklyn Nets is that the stars right now are not meshing well together. Okay, now I will say this: a lot of people criticize LeBron James for basically doing a lot of this stuff with basically one superstar. All right. But here's what I'm seeing with all this. Here's what I'm seeing in all this. Right now, the way that this team is being constructed right now, there's no dominant big guy to basically help with on the boards. All right. They don't play good defense consistently enough. All right. And I hate to be critical of Kyrie Irving. I really hate to do that, but I am going to in this case. There are a lot of times where I watch Kyrie Irving play, and his defense is absolutely trash, literally trash. I'm like watching the TV screen, and I'm sorry, Kyrie Irving stretch his arms out like this, but in a standing position. If I did that in high school right now, my coach would basically put me on the bench and would not even let me play for the entire game, playing that kind of trashy defense, letting guys get blown by you, and also letting the games go down to high scoring type of affairs. Like, listen, I really think right now the team that they had as constructed before the Harden trade was made, I believe that that team was actually going to be tailor made to help, Kyrie and KD, get to the championship, in my view. But right now, after trading away Karis LeVert, after basically trading away Torian Prince, all right, a lot of your versatile big guys off your bench. Right now, that team does not look like a team that's going to be constructed to win a championship. But right now, in a weak Eastern Conference, in a very weak Eastern Conference, they're only third place. They're third in the West. They're third in the East behind the Bucks and the 76ers. So, I mean, they're pretty much scrolling by in a weak Eastern Conference. But if they were playing in the West, I'm telling you, they would not. It would not be even in the top 8. All right. I really think right now, I really think that the Brooklyn Nets right now, they got a lot of things to pretty much take care of, and it starts with their 3 superstars. They have to set the tone and really try to figure out who's going to play which role as the 3 main core guys. Okay, these guys demand the basketball. Of course they do. But they have to figure out a way of who's going to be off the ball, who's going to take some less shots, who's going to be the one to set the defensive tone. And right now, the way I look at it is, right now, I just don't think that the Brooklyn Nets right now defensively is good enough to win a championship. They might even lose in the second round. The way this looks as this team is constructed. LB says Jared Allen was also impact. DeAndre Jordan made no defense. Yeah, I mean it's sad to see what DeAndre Jordan has turned out right now. But they thought that DeAndre Jordan was pretty much the only big guy that they need, not knowing the fact that you're gonna need other bigs besides DeAndre Jordan to complement the other players. So right now, the way that Brooklyn Nets are constructed, I guarantee you one thing: if they don't turn this around, they're not going to win a championship. Okay, and in a weak Eastern Conference, that's inexcusable to me. You constructed this 3 trio of stars in Brooklyn to win a championship, and you're playing this kind of basketball right now. Is ridiculous. It's poor basketball beyond belief, and I really think right now, the way that this team looks, the way that this team is constructed, there's literally no way that they're going to win a championship. Absolutely not. I just see my brother Brandon Nicholson in the building. Thank you so much, my man. That's one of my loyalist people on the scene, man. I love Brandon Nicholson. One of my favorites, man. Oh, I got something in the cash app real quick. Okay, hold on. Salute to Duke in the cash app. He said sent you $5 for the grind for okay. Sent you $5. Appreciate it, Duke. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it, bro. And also the cash app is basically in the chat there if you want to donate any money to the value of this channel. But my point is this: the Nets right now, there's too many weaknesses. There's too many flaws on this team right now that just makes me hesitant to think that they're going to win a championship. If they don't turn this around soon, they're going to either lose in the first or the second round. And I'll bet you this: the way that the Indiana Pacers play, I'm telling you, Indiana may not be a championship contender team, but they're a team that you cannot sleep upon come playoff time. I'm telling you, that's the way that the Pacers, they play offense efficiently, and the way that those players, play together. I'm telling you, the Brooklyn Nets may have to see them down the line if they don't turn things around. So that's just how I kind of personally see it. So with that being said, I have another team that has been pretty much a disappointment to start out the year. And sorry, Brendan Nicholson, I hate to break this out to you since you're a Heat fan. We're talking about the Miami Heat. Yep, right now the Miami Heat, after making the NBA Finals last year, right now they are on the outside looking in. They're 11-14 right now. They're ninth in the Eastern Conference behind the New York Knicks. Who would have thought that the New York Knicks would be in the top 8 in the Eastern Conference right now? But right now, the Miami Heat have been one of the most disappointing teams this year because there's been a lot of things about this Heat team that really just shake my head with them. Number one is in terms of the chemistry. They're not playing as efficiently together as a team like they were a year ago. Now, I'm sure that has a lot to do with the fact of how Jimmy Butler's he basically missed some games due to injury. But the thing that has really let me starting to shake my head about this Miami Heat team is that they're not synced well together defensively. They basically let me check out the rankings of the Miami Heat real quick. 2021 Miami Heat because I wanted to see what their defensive rating is right now because this team right now should be better than what they were right now and than what they are. Right now, they're eighth defensively this season after basically last year when they did make the finals. They were 11th, of course, but they turned things around and basically turned their defense on in the postseason. That's why you saw them, did in terms of shutting down Giannis in the conference semifinals. But here's what I really think about this. Right now, they don't have a legitimate center, and their point guard issues are really coming into the forefront because I like Gordon Dragic, I do, but I look at Gordon Dragic as like a mini two guard than a point guard. That's why he basically they don't have a good legitimate point guard to really space the floor and let Butler do his thing. And also the other problem I'm seeing is that they don't have a legitimate center to take pressure off of Bam Adebayo. And listen, I love Bam. Bam is one of my favorite players to watch in terms of his energy, in terms of his rebounding, and also his shot blocking and defense. But he can only do so much. Okay, Bam Adebayo is basically he's only 6'9". If he were 7 feet, we'd be one of the most dominant centers in the game. But he's only 6'9". And when you have only him on your front line, you got Jay Crowder struggling and Tyler Hero, who's been struggling. You know what I'm saying? It's and also Andre Iguodala, showing his age at this point. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been going on with this Heat team that just really has been shaking my head with them. And so there's still time to really, turn this around and really try to make this work. But what they have to do is they have to address those two key areas, and that will help Butler, in terms of his offensive efficiency, so he can have more spacing on the floor to try to, create and basically, set guys up and look for score opportunities. But also, they really need to do a better job in terms of they need to do a better job in terms of surround and basically playing better defense that really can really help turn things around. So that's what I kind of think of this. I really think right now the Miami Heat should be better than what their record shows, but there's still time to turn this around. All right, we know that this 70-game season is going to be filled with a lot of games where you have to play possibly 3 or 4 straight games, every week. But and but I really think right now, if the favorites that want to get to the NBA Finals want to turn this around, you either got to start doing it, heading towards the All Star break, and then also turn it on after the All Star break. And I think that's where a lot of these teams need to start turning it around. Now, I really think that, you know, they're putting Bam out of bio in a very compromising position of playing center most nights. Like I said, he's only 6'9". All right, he's more of a power forward than anything else. They should have done a better job of inviting another center to really take pressure off of Bam. And also, I really think right now, I think that the Miami Heat need to find a point guard before the trade deadline. At least a point guard that can help space the floor for Jimmy Butler to work and find a way to get those shooters, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, open. That's what I tend to believe right now. So that just is what it is. That's what I kind of see it. What's up, William School Arnett? I haven't seen you in a minute, man. How you doing, man? Hey, listen, I'm glad to see that your health problems are starting to take care of itself, man. I was worried sick for you, my brother. He said he would love to hear my opinion about the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, I'll get to that I'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save my thoughts about the New Orleans Pelicans in a minute here. Okay. Mm, 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 So, with that being said, and speaking of about teams that are pretty much showing a lot of improvement, now we're gonna get into another team, and I hope Tay Tay is listening because we're gonna talk about New York here, and I'm talking about the New York Knicks. I must say that the New York Knicks to me have been one of the bigger surprises for me this year. All right, I tended to think right. I've always, been getting tired of talking about, the Knicks in terms of how disappointed they've been for decades, and we know this. We all know this, but I really have been very impressed about, the way that the Knicks have been playing, especially with Emmanuel, quickly. You know, it's he's really been one of the big surprises for me this year. And also RJ Barrett is starting to find his niche now, with this Knicks team. I'll tell you this New York Knicks team, I got to give some credit for Tom Thibodeau for doing an excellent job of coaching this young team. I know he's taken a lot of criticism, over his last few stops when he was in Chicago, over the back half of when he was in Chicago, the way that things collapsed in Minnesota. Well deserved criticism for that. But he's really done a good job reviving himself, in New York. He still keeps his same defensive principles, and I hope that he's learned his lesson of not trying to wear young guys, to the floor. You know what I'm saying? But I think that the way that the Knicks play defense and the way that their young players have responded to the coaching of Tom Thibodeau, I mean, they really brought in some new hope for the New York Knicks. Now, I'm careful about. Here's one thing I'm careful of about these Knicks. Okay, as much as I've really been impressed about the Knicks and what they've done this year, remember I've seen this cycle many, many times with these New York Knicks. All right, when they start to turn to a corner and start to turn things around a little bit, what happens? They basically fall into the same losing habits, and then they start collapsing. All right, so I'm always on guard about that, especially when it comes to these Knicks. All right, but I've really been impressed of what RJ Barrett's been done. With Julius Randle, what he's been able to do, and also the way that those young players have really been able to play together. You know what I mean? It's really refreshing to see these Knicks, finally, start to finally win some games for a change, and also make a push for them to possibly to get into the postseason. And so I really been enjoying myself, watching these Knicks. I am impressed, but I still don't think that they'll make the playoffs. I still think that this team is a little bit too young to really make considerations of making a playoff push. Do I think that I don't think they're going to be a good team down the line? I do think so. I think so, but I think right now I think that this team has still got a lot of things to improve upon, but they're on the right track. I will say they are pretty much on the right track. And I think honestly, I think that the New York Knicks, if they can acquire a top superstar free agent in the offseason and make that push, I don't know. Something good could happen. You never know. But that's just how I kind of see the way the Knicks have been looking this year. But I think that the New York Knicks could possibly compete for you know one of the lower playoff spots in the seventh or eighth position. And so a salute to the Knicks. They've been able to make things happen right now, and also really make a staple of possibly getting into the playoffs. So now with that out the way, I'm gonna do my request for one of my loyal people there, for Mr. Williams School Arden in here. Pelicans. All right. So this man wants me to talk about these New Orleans Pelicans. Well, sir, shall ask, shall receive. You got it. So, what do I think about your New Orleans Pelicans this year? Well, they're playing in a tough Western Conference, as many people know. But I will say that this New Orleans Pelicans team is got a lot of good potential around. They really do, and they are basically a team that basically is revolves around the towns of Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Now, they are second to last in the West right now because of how deep. No, not second to last. My mistake. They're 12th. My mistake. Um, right now, the this team right now, the way I see this team, you know, this team right now, they need to find new way. They need to continue to improve defensively, and also the one thing that I really enjoy about watching these New Orleans Pelicans play is that they're young, they're energetic, and they really know how. They really are just an exciting team to watch. But they're gonna have to really start learning about winning some games on the road, and that's what I think that's one of the key issues that they had, this year. Now, can they turn things around? Anything's possible, but the West right now, the way it's constructed, the way that Utah's playing, the way that the Lakers have been playing, is going to get tough. It's really going to make things really really tough on them. So I would say 2 more years, in terms of finding the chemistry to really improve the team. But I think that if they can keep those two young guys of Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram together and keep building around those guys, the Brooklyn Nets could have something, something good in their future. I really think so too. And let me tell you this: Zion Williamson continues to show why he's basically the next future dominant player in the NBA, barring injury and barring what happens. I'm telling you, he's going to be a huge problem for for huge problem for the NBA. I'm telling you, this boy is is basically solid in a big way. So, what's my thoughts about the Pelicans? They still got a lot more to work on, but they're basically building themselves on the right track to success. It's just a matter of what kind of pieces that can they put around those two guys to really make themselves a playoff team. That's where I think I tend to try to see what's going to happen, as they move on in their future endeavors. So, with that being said, I want to basically talk about another issue that was really got some of my attention, and that's basically you know the All-Star Game issue. I've been reading some articles, read some information about you know players not wanting to play in the All-Star Game, wanting to have a little bit more rest time. You know what I mean? Um, LeBron James pretty much stood on record, pretty much said that, listen, as long as as long as we're still able to move, we can play. Just basically paraphrasing, but listen, I've heard some people had different opinions about. Well, the All Star game is basically boring. It really is just it's basically a warm up game or something like that, and it is. I'm not gonna lie. I've been to an NBA All Star game. It's basically that. But here's what I'm telling you about this. Okay, the one thing that's going on right now is that the NBA has sponsors, TV contracts that they have to fulfill. Okay, it's all about money when it comes to the NBA. And so you better believe that if they're going to make the players go play in an all-star game to basically have their piece of the pie from these sponsors, they're going to do it. Okay? So they could talk about how they want this rest time and all that. They could do that, but at the same time, the NBA is also a business. And so you have to follow where the money goes. Okay? These TV contracts are investing billions of dollars to broadcast NBA games. And a lot of these sponsors are spending billions of dollars to advertise their basically their products and their businesses with the NBA. You really think that they're gonna let these guys sit it out one All-Star game? No, they're not gonna do that. The NBA All-Star game is one of their biggest financial revenues, of the league. And so why would they basically decide if they want to cancel? If the players don't, if there's some players that don't want to play it, that's their choice, but they're going to get fined for it. I even remembered one time back in 2000 where, you know, Karl Malone didn't want to play in the NBA All Star game and basically took like a huge fine for not showing up to the practices, the All Star, media day, the festivities, and all that stuff. And the only reason why he had to show up is because the NBA threatened a 5-game suspension on Malone if he didn't show up. So I know it was a long time. I know it was like what 21 years ago, but I'm just using that as a reference example. The bottom line is this: you have to follow where the money goes. Okay, the the NBA is not going to mess around. You know, the NBA is not going to mess around and risk losing millions and millions of dollars from these sponsors and broadcasting deals. To miss out on an All Star game in the light of a pandemic. Okay, it's not gonna be that way. So at the end of the day, the players can complain about it all they want to, but the NBA is going to make them, play in an All Star game, regardless of what they think. And if LeBron James pretty much comes out and says, "Listen, I'm gonna go out and play," the other players will follow. All right, LeBron James is basically their unofficial spokesman of the players. And no matter what happens, everything that LeBron does, the players will follow. That just is what it is. And so I just took the story and just made it and just basically took it as nonsense. Because at the end of the day, you could pretty much say what you want, but they're going to make you play no matter what. And if you don't want to, you're gonna either get fined or suspended. That just is what it is. But Williams Good Arnett says, "Thanks, Abel, for your concern, bro. I definitely appreciate it." Absolutely, man. No doubt. And Terry Smoot, how you doing, man? Good to see you, though, bro. Much love, man. Much love. So, before I get out of here and rewatch the Brooklyn Nets the uh, and the Golden State Warriors play tonight, um, I did want to talk about this little something that has been craggling on my mind lately, and that is basically revolving around this man, Mr. Kevin Durant, right here. All right. So tonight, basically, Kevin Durant is playing his first game, against a team that he played for several years, Golden State Warriors, and this is the first time that he has faced against the Warriors since he injured that Achilles tendon in the 2019 NBA Finals. And right now, as I been watching the feedback of the game here on my computer. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets are pretty much winning right now by a large margin here. Let me pull up the score real quick. Yep, they're winning right now, 73-57 right now. But I did read some things about what the Warriors are going to have to do to get Kevin Durant to come back to Golden State. And I'm sitting there shaking my head like, you guys won't learn to let this go. Like, listen, Kevin Durant fulfilled his duty when he was in Golden State, and he got you 2 rings in the process. All right, he got you 2 rings in those 3 years that they made the NBA Finals, and it could have been 3 in a row if it wasn't for the injuries. But right now, you know, Kevin Durant to me had probably doesn't have any interest of going back to Golden State anymore, unless if they decide to get rid of Draymond Green. And let's rewind this back. Draymond Green is the reason why Kevin Durant left Golden State for that particular reason, because basically Draymond Green was so uncomfortable about the whole free agency situation with Durant that it drove him crazy, and it made him spaz out of control in Los Angeles. And so, why would Kevin Durant run back into that uncomfortable situation, unless if the Golden State Warriors decide to get rid of Draymond Green, in which I wouldn't have a problem with that, because right now the Draymond Green contract looks even worse every single day. You basically pay this man $100 million, and basically he does what? He basically gives you nothing. Like, come on. It was a terrible deal, and something that probably the Warriors are going to regret for a long time. But the point I'm making is, you guys, is that he ain't coming back. There's no way that this man is going to be coming back to Golden State. I'm sure he'd rather play somewhere else than play in Golden State. So, but the way I look at the Golden State Warriors right now, the Golden State Warriors right now, they're going to have to start rebuilding their team through young players. Okay, Clay's out with the Achilles tear injury. He was supposed to play and start this year, but obviously he's out for a while. Stephen Curry's been playing at his normal MVP self. Okay, those other guys like the Eric Pascals, the Andrew Wiggins are going to have to be, and also James Wiseman too. And I like James Wiseman too. I think James Wiseman is going to be a huge problem if he's developed correctly, and he's got a good supporting system in Golden State. But those young guys are going to have to be the new foundation for a possible championship contending team, if that's going to be the case. But get rid of Draymond Green first, and then we'll probably can start discussing about that. But I really think right now, you know, the way that KD has kind of moved on from this, I think he's done a graceful job of basically distancing himself from that controversy, and now he's just starting a new situation in a better place. So even though the Brooklyn Nets have not played up to their championship, expectations, but I think right now he's in a better place than what he was in Golden State towards the end. So that's what I stand in all of this. So with that being said, now that I got this quickie subject of debate, the one discussion we're gonna close out tonight is something that I dropped on my video yesterday. But I'm gonna discuss this even further. We're gonna talk about Kevin Garnett's comments this week, where he basically said that players from 20 years ago couldn't handle today's NBA. And I checked the video comments, from my video yesterday, and boy, there were a lot of people that had different opinions about that. But let me just say this, okay? KG in no way was disrespecting, his contemporary of players. There are a lot of players back in the early 2000s that could do a lot more in terms of the style of play in today's basketball. It starts with Kobe, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Jason Kidd, okay, Ray Allen, all right, Allen Iverson, all right, and the list goes on and on. And also Dirk Nowitzki, a guy that can shoot the ball from deep. Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Rasheed Wallace, Chris Webber. There are a lot of guys in today's NBA that could do a lot more in terms of the way the rules have been restrictive in terms of defenses, right? But the way I look of KG's comments was simple as this, okay? He was not taking a shot at his contemporaries. He wasn't talking about that. What he's basically in defense is that today's game is much more free flowing, and the defensive rules are so restrictive that now it's more about foot movement and trying to stop a guy with your feet instead of using your hands. Because back then, hand checking was basically an art form. All right, bumping a guy in the backcourt, preventing him from getting his dribble off. All right, let let a lot of these guys like the Trey Youngs, Luka Doncic's of the world and others, let them try to do those same kind of things in their era. They would not even survive. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of misinterpreted or probably misunderstood KG's point. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I mean, he's entitled to that kind of an opinion. But what I'm saying is that listen, there are a lot of players in today's NBA that couldn't handle the environment of how the game was played back then, and the same can be said vice versa too. It goes both ways. I think the big thing that I've noticed was it's basically like a generational type of argument. There's always going to be people that could say that there were players back then that couldn't play that kind of same style. Here's the thing. Michael Jordan could play at any other style that he wanted to, and still would drop 30 points. That's how dominant he was. Oscar Robertson averaged a triple double for an entire season. Okay, what Russell Westbrook did had nothing what Oscar Robinson was able to do. He was able to think about this for a moment. Oscar Robinson averaged a triple double for an entire season without a 3-point line. All right, no 3-point line. Okay, and assists weren't even counted then until later on in his career. And the man literally, I'm telling you, the man literally averaged a triple double for an entire season as a big shooting guard. All right. In that year when he averaged a triple double, it was the second year in the league. He averaged 38.8 points per game. All right. They didn't count steals and blocks back then, but he averaged 11 and a half assists and 12 and a half rebounds per game. All right. This guy was a legit big guard that created a lot of mismatch problems at both ends of the floor. Okay. So I bet you one thing: if there was a 3-point line back then in the '60s, I'm telling you his numbers would have been tripled. Okay, Wilt Chamberlain's game could have easily worked in today's basketball because there was nobody that could defend Wilt Chamberlain one on one. All right, Akeem Olajuwon had one of the best crossover moves for a big man and could shoot the mid range jumper. David Robinson, before the back injury, was one of the most athletic, big men in the NBA that could run like a forward. All right, there are a lot of guys back then that could play in today's style. All right. But it's more along the lines of, what's their style of play, how the game is going to be officiated, and what are you allowed to get away with defensively. Back then, you could do a lot more in terms of defense. But the NBA was trying to promote more scoring to try to get more casual fans to come over and watch the games. So what do? Take away hand checking, take away zone defenses, take away the physicality of bumping a guy in the backcourt. All of these things contribute to how the NBA looks today, which is more of an open court type of game where 3-point shooting is at a premium. I mean, think about this. Slowly but methodically, the NBA is breaking records in terms of 3-point attempts per game. I've read that that right now there's been almost like 30 attempts per night in an NBA game, which is breaking the previous record from a year ago. Okay, there was a time where during the early 2000s and the 90s that attempts were of 3-point shots were like between 15 to 20 attempts per game. I mean, these numbers are now starting to double and triple. All right. Now you're looking at teams that's now worried about penetrating and kick, finding an open 3-point shooter. The emphasis of an inside game and the art of the mid-range shot is now, I wouldn't say is like it's basically extinct, but more like an endangered species. All right, you still got some guys that can still perfect the mid-range jumper, but it's not as used as efficiently because many analytic people view the mid-range shot as a wasted shot. So I think in my view, KG had some solid points, and then also he had some takes about how the game is pretty much different, and I have no problem with that. That's just his opinion, and that's how he kind of sees it. He says, School Artist says, I agree. They definitely need to work on the defense, and yet B and Zion are a team. A few more pieces around them, and things could get started seriously. Yeah, I do agree with that. I really think that your New Orleans Pelicans, they got a good team in the future. They just got to keep building those around those two guys, and they should be good. So, with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start shutting down for the night, and I'm gonna go and watch the Brooklyn Nets and the Golden State Warriors game. But I appreciate all of you guys for all the love and support, though, man, and thank you for coming in, on a Saturday night. Um, I won't be back next week. I'm actually going to be doing it. I'm going to be hanging out with some friends next week. I'm actually going to have my first hangout with a girl next week too. So, actually, next Saturday. So I got to make sure my player gains are sharpened up for myself. But appreciate all the love and support though, guys. Y'all already know what it is, and I'm going to try to start making creating more videos this week to make sure to keep up with all the content and all the stuff that's going on with the NBA right now. But just make sure to smash the like button on the way out too, guys. So this has been another great episode of Basketball Conversations. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. And also one more thing, he said. Oh, one more thing. JCV says KG was a part of that 2000s and Kobe era, so he could have been disrespectful to himself. But I disagree in a way because a prime Kobe would have destroyed this era in my view. Of course, I'm not. Of course, Kobe could have done a lot more in that era. Are you serious? We're talking about one of the great players in the game. Of course, Kobe and Michael would have been those guys that could have played in any other era, and they would have been dominant in their own ways. So yeah, I do agree with that. But that's just my assessment. That's what KG's assessment is, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna have different takes about that. I will say one thing: great players are able to adjust the way the game is and the way the game is gonna be played, and so if you're a great player and you're a great scorer, you're just going to be smart enough to know where I can score, where I can find the best opportunities, to get my shot off, and how can I exploit the defenses. All right, that's what great players do, and so that's what I tend to believe. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down for the night, though, guys, and start watching this good basketball in my living room right now. But make sure to smash the like button on the way out too, guys. But this has been a great episode of Return of Basketball Conversations with MehariNation Sports Podcast, you guys. But it's been a great night, you guys. I really, truly appreciate all the love and support, though, man. But, you know what I'm saying? I'll be back in 2 weeks, all right? And I'm going to continue to, create more videos throughout the week. Make sure to smash the like button as you see those videos on your timeline, all right? But with that, I'm out. Peace.